I had an uncle really quick that used to say the OJs tell you everything you need to know about life. They tell you about money and them backstabbers.
That is true. That is true. Money and backstabbers. So ladies, we are live now on Facebook, and I think you should be able to be able to add it to your timeline.
There it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. Look, I'm really good with PowerPoints, but this Facebook Live and all this new stuff, I'm not. So we're good to go. All right. So.
Well, the great thing is we still have Tiara's joining.
Yes, we have. We still got 30 tiaras on the call, so perfect.
Right.
All right.
All right.
So, so when you guys think of mastering the financials, what does that mean to you, Danisha? Like, what does that look like for 2020?
Ooh. Well, really, you know, and I shared a little bit already that 2019, we kind of had some ups and downs in business financially. So now I'm at a place in my business where we are able to project our budget for 2021 and 2022. So, you know, for me, that's what that looks like in 2020, being at a place in business where I'm not worried about 2020 anymore. The same year I'm in, but making projections for the next couple of years. That's the next level in business for me. Of course, I would ideally love to have my payroll. We see what happens in the pandemic, payroll for at least 3 to 6 months ahead. Personally, well, that's enough.
There we go.
He's like, that's it. That's it.
That's it. So when I think of mastering financials, I think of 4 pieces. So the first one is budgeting. You know, a lot of times if I ask people, you know, how much money they bring in on an average monthly basis, they know that number. You know how much your mortgage and your rent is. You know how much your car note is. However, most of us, if I ask anybody, how much did you spend on food? Or how much did you spend to get your nails done, your hair done, on travel? Yes, we're not traveling that much now, but those are the most important things when it comes to actually creating a budget. The only way to master your finances is to understand those numbers, look at those numbers, to look at how much you're spending on food. Because if you think that you're spending maybe $20, $30 a week, but you're really spending $500, you're not going to really understand where your money is going until you actually create a budget to do so. And just some quick, you know, apps that you could do it. Mint is free. Personal Finance is free. If you go on your phone while you're on Facebook and Twitter and TikToking, there's so many different apps that you can use to budget.
Can you say those the couple that you mentioned again, so I can put them in the chat?
Sure. So mint.com is free. That is probably one of my favorite ones for personal financing.
I use Mint too.
Yes, it brings in your personal stuff. It also brings in your business. It brings in your assets, your liabilities. So if you owe student loans, it makes it glaringly obvious how much you're spending on it. The other thing of mastery financing is forecasting. So we all need to be prepared no matter what happens. Yes, we're in a situation right now, but there's always going to be a situation where your car may break down 6 months from now, where you may lose your job, where your husband or wife or whoever may lose their job. So we need to be forecasting what our goals are. So someone, you know, as someone who does taxes for people, if your tax person does not ask you what your next year goals are, fire that tax person. And the reason I say that is when I sit down with my tax people, I say, okay, I'm doing your taxes. What are you trying to accomplish for next year? Because if you're trying to buy a house, but you get a huge refund, it's going to be very hard to do so. So you have to always be figuring out what are your goals for the future, not just what's going on right now. And that goes along with planning. you know, what is your goals? What are your dreams? Do you want to start a business, for example? Do you have 6 months of money saved up? You know, and really with this whole situation that we're going through, if you were budgeting, forecasting, and planning, you're not stressed right now. You had reserves, you had money saved up. This is just another situation because we know life is going to keep happening.
Yeah. You're operating on autopilot right now.
Yes, operating on auto. You're waking up, everything's still fine. You're still able to pay your bills. There should be no reason that if you're not budgeting, forecasting, and planning, that you were not able to pay your rent when this situation first hit. Because if you really are doing these things, it doesn't matter what happens, because things are always going to happen. This should just be another situation that just pops up. And so I'll kind of, you know, share, you know, what my mastery of finances, my story, just because, yes, I'm an accountant. I love numbers. That's a beautiful thing, but I haven't always been that way. So when I graduated from college, I had a bachelor's degree in accounting, but I graduated, I have 5 different credit cards, and I had $25,000 on those credit cards. Woo. For someone who was supposed to be number conscious and all that other stuff, I owe a lot of money. And so, you know, in college, they give you abstract things and it sounds good, but realistically, they're not really teaching you interest rates. They're not teaching you that if I buy a shirt for $20, if I don't pay that credit card off until 2 or 3 years, I done paid $80 for this little $20 shirt that I bought at Forever 21. And so for me, what I did was I got serious about it because I was not trying to have $25,000 in debt. I wanted to buy a car. I wanted to, you know, plan for my future. And so for me, what I did was I created a hardcore budget. I forecasted what I needed to pay off these credit cards, and I made a plan. And so it took me 2 years to pay it all off, but literally I was the person who said no to going out to eat. I didn't go anywhere. I, you know, streamlined everything. Those clothes that I had, they were good for, you know, for a couple of years. But once I paid that off and my credit score jumped up from, like, I don't even know what it was. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even look. I didn't understand credit back then. But when I was done with it, my credit score was 700. And that gave me more control. Yes, thank you.
I was gonna say, like, I still ain't got it right? You know, perfect. Being transparent, and that's why a series like this is so important. That's why I wanted to do, you know, Mastermind. Why, you know, I got you last year. You know how much you've helped me in my business, but personally, I still haven't fully mastered that. And I think a lot of it is like self-control. And the reason why I'm speaking is because it sounds like you just got to a point where you made up your mind that what you wanted to see was more like your long-term goals were greater than that short-term gratification, that instant gratification rather. And so I guess my question was gonna be like, how does a person get to that point where they're like, okay, I'm not, you know, how do you, as an accountant or financial advisor, what's your advice to people when they just are struggling with that?
You have to decide what you want for your future. And for me, I personally, I don't like having people have control over my decision-making ability. So, you know, knowing that in the long run, I wanted to start my own business. I didn't want to be tied to having to go to the same job every day. I wanted to be able to just go somewhere. If I wanted to quit my job, I wanted to have control over my life. I got tired of having bosses that told me what to do. I still had to get up and go to that job because if I don't go to the job, I don't make any money. And so for me, it was about control over my future, control over my destiny. And then also with me deciding to have a daughter, it was, I want to make sure that she's always good. You know, I didn't want to be limited on what I could provide to her based on stupid decisions that I was making. You know, we always want to go out and buy the new Gucci bag or the new iPhone 28 and all this other stuff. But then when it's time to do something, you're missing out on opportunities that are provided to you that in the long run, which Ashley will talk to, will bring you a lot more money. Like even with this situation, I own a house. I'm in the process of working with Ashley to get investment property. But if just everything just goes to, you know, horribly for me, I literally, you know, have a lot of equity in my house. So I have assets that I can literally liquidate and have money sitting there. And so having that kind of plan in place and understanding that I was going to be able to control my destiny and not be relying on the government for a stimulus check or a tax refund or all these other outside entities, it just gave me control and peace of mind. So
and I think that's what it is. You have to, you know, I was on Instagram yesterday and I saw a Dave Ramsey post. And for people who don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he is like the guru when it comes to personal finance. And if you want some like tough love accountability, follow Dave Ramsey. Like follow Dave Ramsey. But he said something where, and I'm gonna read it. He said, "You have to get mad enough to want to make a change." And constantly being denied or being told you can't have this or you can't do this, that'll put you in a position where it gets to the point where you're like, okay, this is, if it's gonna be, it's gonna be up to me, and I'm gonna do this. And discipline and sacrifice take precedence over anything that you thought that wasn't worth it to get you to where you need to be financially. We were talking on our mastermind before, after our last session, that it gets to a point where it's cool if you can't buy something, but the mindset around it changes when you're told you can't buy something versus you making the conscious decision not to buy something, right? So me and Phyllis discussed it just recently, where we're saying having control over your finances gives you the options to be able to do. No one can tell you no but you when you control your finances, because it puts you in a position of empowerment, because you already know what you can do. You know what I mean? All the education is there surrounding financial stability. And then once you are empowered with that, listen, you are unstoppable. And we'll get into that for sure.
And I think, you know, one of our here in the chat said, a budget is telling your money where to go.
Absolutely.
So that control is, and I always talk about when it comes to self-care, right? We talk about self-care and get that massage, do, you know, all the feel-good things. But often, it bothered me so much, and I always say self-care is doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. And sometimes that doesn't feel good. Sometimes working out doesn't feel good. Sometimes saying no and budgeting and getting your finances in order doesn't feel good. But that is how you're going to take care of yourself. So.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, self-care is saving for a rainy day. Like that, think about saving and self-care, just like Denisha said, because a lot of times we think telling ourselves no is really a bad thing. And Phyllis is going to get into why no is actually should become one of your most powerful words.
Yes.
But yeah, self-care is saving. I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm quoting you.
Also, self-care also is having that mental stress of knowing that you have money in the bank for a rainy day, or you're not stressed or overwhelmed because you can't make ends meet. So create discipline with self-care definitely is a huge start. Like if you don't have no money, you can't even afford to even start doing self-care, which causes stress on your mental. So I think discipline and finances helps with self-care and not needing it as much because you already have a disciplined routine. Did you guys hear me?
It's a little choppy. Is that just choppy?
Hello?
Yep.
It was a little choppy.
It's a little choppy, but it's okay.
Okay.
So good. So and what everyone said, that is true. It's like ultimately everyone has their reason of why. But ultimately the last piece that, at some point we all want to retire. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to be 75 at Walmart with a face mask wearing. I just don't. I personally just, I plan to retire in the Bahamas, period. No questions asked. I'm going to have a house there, and it's just what I'm budgeting, planning, and forecasting to do. So
Right.
I'm going to be in the Caribbean when I'm 75. No excuses. So if you want to retire, we cannot depend on Social Security. We cannot depend on this, money that may not be there to take care of us when we're older. So if you don't start today, kind of making a plan of what your future is going to look like, you're going to turn around, you're going to be 60, 70 years old. No one's going to hire you, and you're going to be kind of stuck either living with your kids or living, you're going to be somewhere where someone else has control of your life. And so for me, I know I want to retire, and so I need to make sure to do things today that's going to benefit me for the future. So we kind of already touched on this, but the most important thing for me is control. I mean, you want to have mastery of your finances so you can have control. Ashley and I were talking about this yesterday, and I was kind of sharing with her you know, two different, we were all talking about buying cars, you know, and one of the first cars I bought, it was $6,000. I didn't save up for it. The interest rate was 1,000,000%. By the time I paid that sucker off, I think I paid like $12,000. It was this old Dodge Neon, and the transmission went out. So I pretty much paid double what I bought the car for. It probably wasn't even worth the $6,000 I bought it for, but I had no control. I had no control over it. And then about 3 years ago when I bought Tangy, that's my orange Mustang, I literally walked in there. I knew my FICO score was 820. I knew I had a down payment. I knew they weren't going to tell me anything. So I literally walked in. I said, this is what I want to pay. This is what I've broken it down. These are what I want my payments to be. And I'm not negotiating. I'm not talking to anybody. Like, we literally went back and forth on 0.02, like it was like 0.09 cents or something. And the guy was like, I was like, no, I want that, take that 9 cents off. I was that serious because I knew at the end of the day that not that many people was walking in there that you could just finance that easily. So, you know, when I left, I walked away with a 0.8% interest rate on my car. So, and it's like, and then I paid it off in 2 years. So having that control, and
you just
you
stop
know,
for a second and let that sink in. You
Yes.
going. If I would have known you were going to share that story, I would have had money queued up. Okay.
I was gonna say she was going. She's like, I want this. I want that color.
Right.
I'm not paying this. I'm gonna pay that.
but
So
that,
go back to that little finance room and figure it out.
yes, because it just, but that's the control. A lot of times life happens.
Right?
I think Amber, you're a little choppy.
Yeah, Amber, you may want to hop off and come back on because you're like, so to piggyback off what Amber said, but I think really ultimately in life, you don't want, when you become an adult, you want to be an adult. And so you have to decide, what does control look like for you? My control means that ultimately, if I want to go buy a car tomorrow, I could buy a car, or if I want to go buy a house, I could buy a house. It's putting things in place that I can do that. If your car breaks down tomorrow and you're not sure if you're going to be able to buy it, but you have kids that you have to take care of, or you know, you need to move out your house, but your FICO score is in the dirt, you're letting somebody else make decisions for you. And I know you guys have all seen those things on Facebook where it's like your interest rate on one car is 7 point whatever percent, and the one that's 0%, and what you end up paying over 5 years is drastically different. So I know Ashley wants to share her story as well.
No, I think we all have a terrible first car story. Like, I feel like if your dad wasn't there to help you, or somebody that had the knowledge or the wisdom or experience, we all have that story. My first car I got, and I feel like I didn't even have a terrible credit score, but I didn't have someone there that could tell me how it was supposed to be or what the norm looks like with auto financing. So just to drop a little information on you guys, technically your car payment should not exceed 10% of your gross income. So if you make $2,000 a month gross, your car payment should be $200. If you're paying over $200, you're paying too much. But nobody told me that, right? Because at 18, you just want to drive. You want something that's yours. You don't care how you get it. They go back there in that room. You don't know what they're doing, but they come back and you get keys, and that's all you care about. So my first car, I was paying $408 for a 2004 busted Toyota Corolla. But I love that thing, right? My interest rate was probably like 20-something%. And on top of that, my car insurance, because I was a young driver, was $406. So I was paying over $800 just to drive. When my dad found out that that's what I was paying to drive every month, he lost his mind, because he knew that that's not what I should have been paying. At the time, I was working in hotels, and my paycheck was probably like $1,200. So take that into consideration. Let that sink in. I was paying $800 to drive, and my paycheck every 2 weeks was just $1,200. So a big portion of what I was making was going to my car, and I can't live in my car, right? So it doesn't create a lot of room for anything else. And I will tell you, when we get into the whole real estate gist of it, cars are stopping a lot of people from owning. You know, something called a debt to income ratio is super important when you get to wanting to own a home, and cars are literally like the budget sinkers. Like, it's terrible how much a car impacts your ability to buy, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I was not able to get a car, you know, anything less than that. One, because I didn't have the knowledge, and two, I probably did not have the credit at that time because I wasn't working on making sure that my finances were in check. I didn't care. And then if I was worried about my budget, I absolutely would not have taken a $400 car payment knowing what I was earning. But again, like Phyllis says, it comes in with the knowledge and, like Deisha said, self-care, because I was not taking care of myself paying a $400 car payment. I did not love myself back then, but I love myself better now because I know and I have the knowledge. So something as simple as equipping yourself, empowering your wallet, and knowing when you walk in there, like Phyllis said, your credit score, knowing what an average car payment should be, knowing that if you have all the tools to control your situation, that you'll fare out better. I mean, it starts right there with that. But yeah, now, same as Phyllis, my interest rate on my car is 0. I don't have an interest rate on my car. My car is paid off, same. And we had this conversation yesterday. I'm not getting a new car until those wheels fall off, or I can go in there and pay cash again, because like I said, a car payment is literally hindering you from so many other things. And we'll get into that.
And you know what? I just want to make a quick point. This is why mastering the mental and masterminding everything is so important, because when you know who you are, you don't have things to prove. So I remember I had it wasn't my first car, but the last car I had before my new car, it was a Nissan Altima. And the only reason I got rid of that car was because I'm rough on cars. But, you know, I love that car, and I went through the brand new first car, got it the year before, because I was like, as I grew wiser about money, I was not about to get a new car, because I was like, no, like this was almost paid off, and you know, I understand the value, and I understand that I don't need to drive this kind of car to look this kind of way. When people are doing that, they're doing it for other people, and that often is an impoverished mentality, because rich people, even when you see them drive in Rolls Royces, these people are billionaires. So when you talk about the amount of money you should spend on your car in proportion to your income, rich, wealthy people, rather, they're not doing that. But oftentimes us in poverty, and of course it's due to lack of knowledge, right? Us not knowing better. We don't have the credit scores because we weren't taught about them or whatever, so we get stuck in these cycles. But I just remember so many people were like, "Girl, you look like you need to be driving this kind of car." You know, and I'm like, before that I had a Saturn. My Saturn was beat up, and it was the same thing. I was like, I am not, because I know that that's not valuable. It's something that depreciates the moment you get it. You know, loses half of its value, and when you understand that, you're not worried about what other people think, because you're in control of your budget and your wallet, and you know that my cars get me where I need to go, and I can walk into any store and buy whatever I want. So I'm not concerned about riding down the street and what other poor people who are trying to look like they have what they don't have are spending for these semi-luxury cars. I always tell people, when you see me riding in a really expensive car, that's when you could be like, she made it, because I will not be spending that amount of money on a vehicle. So anyway, sorry. But I mean, I just think it goes into knowing who you are and not feeling pressure from other people, because you have your goals in mind, and you're not trying to do things that are not going to get you to where you see yourself in your future, and making poor decisions about your finances or with the car is a part of that.
That's good.
Hey, I agree. We have Noaka saying that she used to have a Beamer, but she got rid of it and she misses her Chevy Malibu. So, you know, look, I understand, you know, but you realize that. I mean, I went to Pepperdine, which is in Malibu, and I learned very quickly there was 3 levels of people. There was the scholarship kids, me, and then there was the like rich kids who were driving around in Lexuses and Mercedes and all that other stuff. And then when the economy crashed in 2000, you know, way back when, those were the people who went first. And then there was the wealthy. And these kids was walking around with they Toyotas and jeans and a t-shirt, and you had no clue. And when I say, I mean, you're talking about, I went to school with people who own planes, and I went to school with people who were like a level of wealthy that is just like, you know, you can't even really conceive, but they didn't show their wealth because they had it in their bank account. And, you know,
they have anything to prove.
They have anything to prove. We are, you know, especially minorities, always trying to prove our wealth and how much we have. But it's like, okay, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you trying to prove? Because when it's time to pay those bills, those people that you're trying to impress are not going to be paying your bills at all.
Yeah.
So that's some good points, good points. And so really, I mean, Miss Danisha,
Yes.
you disabled the share screen.
I'll make you.
But
Do not
anyway,
disable.
so going back to what I was.
Oh no, okay. You should be able to share now.
So we working through some things, but so really, you know, what everyone was kind of talking through is establishing a peace of mind. I mean, literally, when you master your finances, you can go to bed every day. You're not worried about what's in your bank account. You're not worried about what your credit card debt is. You're not worried about, you know, those IRS letters. As a tax professional, especially right now in tax season, that seems like it won't ever end. I get text messages from people 2:00 in the morning saying that they got a letter from the IRS. And I'm like, open the letter, sis. Like, what do you want me to do at 2:00 in the morning? Like, what? I mean, they're like, well, what does it say? I don't know. You open it, like, and it's insane to me to have, I mean, I understand it, but to have that mentality where you're so scared to open a letter that you feel like you want to reach out to someone who's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? Like that, it just means that you're constantly afraid of the unknown. You know, you should be able to go to bed at night. The IRS sends you a letter. You should be able to open it, read the letter, and just be like, okay, whatever. Like I myself got a letter from the IRS. I laughed at it. My mom worked the IRS for 30 years. I sent it to her and I was like, you people tripping. I sent them a letter disputing it. And I knew that I didn't owe anything. And then somehow they sent me a refund, which, okay, cool. But I didn't, you know, it didn't stress me out. It didn't take me to a level of, you know, getting outside my peace. Because when you master your finances, you know, everything comes in ebbs and flows. Yes, your car is going to break down. Yes, you're going to lose your job. A lot of stuff is going to happen. But until you have peace of mind and understand that it's just money is going to come, money is going to go. And if you have a budget, forecast, and a plan, it's going to work itself out, you know, especially during the situation that we're going in. A lot of us were blessed. I'm still working. A lot of us are still working. And there's a lot of people who are out of work right now. And it's an unfortunate situation, but you have to kind of step back and create a new budget for yourself, you know, and also figure out what else you could do. You know, maybe it's time to do your new passion. Maybe it's time to now get that peace of mind and do what you really want to do with your life, you know. So that really is kind of the benefit of just kind of knowing that no matter if you're making 100,000 a year or you're making 20,000 a year, how to work within your numbers so that you can grow and just not be stressed about it.
Shondell said, live within your means.
Yes, yes. Too many people, like my friends, yeah, like, but I am too, like my friends, they tell me I'm always operating like I'm 2 steps away from welfare. And I do, unless I'm traveling somewhere. Like if I travel, look, I am like, okay, run this card, I'm good. But honestly, for me, I operate like that because in the long run, I don't ever want to woulda, coulda, shoulda. I don't want to go buy some, you know, $5,000 Prada bag, and then next thing you know, my car breaks down, and now I just never want. It's not that serious to me. So you have to figure out. You should always live below your means, so that when things happen, like right now, when people are not making as much money, you're not still operating up here when your income is down here. So
Phyllis, one of the viewers on Facebook, and maybe you or Ashley can answer this. Said, how do you slowly build back up? And I think that was one of the questions I had. And how, and if anyone has needed to build back up.
I'll say it takes acceptance. Like Phyllis said, you have to accept where you are. So when you go through those, when you get those letters from the IRS or even creditors, collection agencies, right? I've been there. I tell people all the time, you know, you see me now, I'm able to walk in my purpose because I was purposeful about change, right? You have to accept it. You have to accept the fact that you did this. Everything you see in front of you right now is a direct reflection of a choice you made in the past. So acceptance is huge. That's big. And it took me a while to be like, wait, my mom is a realtor. My dad did this. I had all this money that I accessed. I was making, how am I here? So acceptance is one. 2, you have to create a plan. Like, okay, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? And when I say you, only you can get you out of it. Because I had tons of people that would help me financially. Shout out to my brother, Apollo. He has been huge with my financial journey. And the only thing that would do is enable you, right? Because when someone helps you, you don't learn from it. You're just like, oh, okay. If I get in trouble, I'll just go to mom, or I'll go to bank of dad, right? No, you have to do it yourself. That right there is another thing that I learned, because before I would just get in trouble, people help me, and then I'm like back there again. So acceptance, and then learning that you have to do it, create that plan, and then seek knowledge, because ignorance is what keeps a lot of people from being financially stable, right? You have to know what an average car payment looks like. You have to know that a budget is you telling your money where to go. So knowledge, and then being disciplined and sticking to that plan, regardless of like, we are a huge society on impulse and immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is to stick to a plan, regardless of what your outside influences are doing. I have friends that are traveling. I will be on Instagram, totally okay with my budget, get on Travel Noir and be like, oh my God, I want to go to Greece. Greece is not in your budget, sis. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to tell yourself no. So I would think that's how you would build back up. Acceptance, ownership, making a plan, knowing you're the only person that can do it, sticking to that plan, and then being disciplined enough to carry it out. And knowledge, of course, like I said. And I know Phyllis will add on to that too.
I'm gonna add on to it, because I know for me, 5 years ago, 5.5 now, I literally quit my job. Like, I just couldn't anymore. I wanted to follow in my passion, and I was working in corporate America. The pay was great. I'm not even good, but it was just, I was missing my daughter. I was there from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. I was building someone else's dream. I literally quit, no, nothing. I gave myself 6 months. And so I went from making money to nothing. And so I got serious, meaning I literally, all my credit cards, I cut them up. I didn't stick them in the freezer. I didn't say I wasn't going to use them. I literally got super serious because I knew I didn't want to go back to work. So when I say you have to get serious, some suggestions that I would give to people that are hardcore is go to your bank, take out $100 a week and operate on that money, because we all operate what we're making on today. But think about, like, when you were 21 years old, you weren't making what you're making at 31 or 41. So you need to operate how you were back in the day. You was living off of, oodles and noodles. I lived off of, when I paid off my credit card debt, I lived off of quesadillas and Sunny Delight for a whole year. That's why to this day, if I see Sunny Delight, it just brings me back. But I really did. Like, when I would go to lunch with my coworkers, I was the one ordering a side of fries. Like, I literally was that dedicated to my.
Wow. Listen, y'all. As y'all can see, like I told y'all, I'm pretty sure you have not ever heard a conversation about finances so fun, so engaging, right? Where people are really being transparent, but giving you tips and tools. As you can see, both of these ladies are full of knowledge. And while we're just sharing this for any and everyone, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. They have consulting businesses where they work privately, as well as if individually. And you can see they have the knowledge and the experience and the tools. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in more, to reach out, right? To reach out to them. I'm only saying this because I want to honor y'all time, and I don't want to be a stereotype. So we promised to be done at 12, and I know Ashley has some amazing information that she wants to share with everyone about housing, which still goes into this conversation.
Yes.
Yes. So with that, wow, we didn't even realize we're getting so into this.
Good.
It's good. Well, people were asking questions, and that's great that y'all were answering it.
Yes. So I'm going to expedite this, because I do want Ashley to speak, because really she has been instrumental in my real estate dreams. So I'm going to skip through this. So look, get mindset, opportunity, power of no, empower your wealth, and start with why as far as mastering. But I really do want to give Ashley opportunity to speak, because she is instrumental in really understanding real estate. So go on, Ashley, hit it.
Okay, I'm gonna make it quick, look, because I want to honor everybody's time too. So I'll slide through my slides. So real estate. The first thing I want to say is kind of what Phyllis was saying. I want people to really get out of the mindset that it is a scary thing. Ownership is not a scary thing. It is 100% an empowering thing, right? owning real estate, whether that's commercial real estate, residential real estate, multifamily real estate, like think of it as a financial vehicle or a tool. When you talk about the types of real estate, so what is it? Residential, you're talking about your condominium, you're talking about a townhome, you're talking about a standalone detached home. So when people are saying, oh, I want to buy a house, typically they're talking about residential real estate. Multifamilies can also be residential real estate. It can be single family residence as well. So when you think about a triplex, a duplex, or a fourplex where there's 4 units in one building, you can absolutely acquire that just like you would a traditional townhouse, single family resident. So I want people to understand that, kind of knowing the difference. And then commercial real estate is typically for people who are business owners, have a business, want to run, you know, an eatery or, you know, a salon. That would be like your commercial real estate. You also get over into commercial real estate when you go past that 4-unit property. So that fourplex, then you're kind of stepping over into like multi-unit residential real estate. I want people to think about real estate as an investment, right? So even if, and then me and Phyllis were having this conversation because, oh my goodness, as a realtor, the number one thing I hear is, I don't want to buy because I'm waiting for the market to crash so I can get a house for $2. I want you to know that you will never be able to buy a house for $2. Because if the market crashes and that house is $2, the people that have $2 cash is going to buy that house because you don't have cash, because you haven't sat down and made a budget and told your money where to go, so you don't have the $2 cash. Or the people that, just like you, are waiting for that house to be $2, they're going to run it up in the market and will no longer be $2. So that's why it's very important to kind of get your finances in check when you think about ownership, because credit, having savings, which obviously budgeting comes into play, is super important to being impactful when you talk about your real estate journey. And that's whether you're buying a single family residence for you and your kids, you just want to, you know, have a place of your own, you want to set down roots, or you're building, you have to budget, you have to save, your credit has to be in check. So think of it as an investment. If you are not looking to flip properties, right? If you're not looking to get a quick return on owning a home, then I'm not going to say that the market shouldn't be important to you, but it shouldn't be as important as you guys are making it seem. Because let's just say if the market crashes today, right, and the real estate market goes down, how many people still have to have a place to stay? Everybody.
Everyone.
So wouldn't you rather own your home, knowing that you got a fixed rate mortgage, your payment is $1,300, nobody can change that payment for you, whether the market crashes or not. It's easier to invite people over to stay with you to supplement your income to make that house payment, right? With rentals, if the market crashes, guess what that investor is trying to do? They're trying to recoup their money. So guess what's going to happen? Your rent is going to go up. So if the market crashed and you couldn't afford a house payment for $1,300, can you afford a rent payment of $1,800? Because in Las Vegas, there's no rental restrictions. There's nobody that tells a renter that, I mean, an investor, that they can't charge you whatever they want to charge you. So if you're paying $1,200 a month in rent, your lease is up, they can absolutely raise your rent to whatever they feel comfortable to recoup the loss that they took in the market. So ownership literally puts you in power of your budget, because knowing that your fixed amount is $1,300 when you own a property versus you don't know what the heck it's going to be when it's time to renew your lease, that right there saves you, you know, gives you peace of mind, like Phyllis said, to be able to say, I don't have to move, I can still pay $1,300 and I can figure this out. Because when this whole COVID thing happened, a lot of people reached out to me because their leases were expiring and they were afraid that their rent was going to increase, and it happened. I literally just got an inbox from a good friend of mine, and she was like, they gave her 6 months. They basically said, you have 6 months to pay your rent. We'll extend your lease for 6 months. You can pay it at this amount. In 6 months, it will go up and you have to find another place to stay. I had another renter come to me and their landlord sold the house, so they had to leave. These are all the types of things that you face when you don't own your property. So when I'm out here and you see other realtors out here preaching ownership over everything, that's what we mean, because it really empowers you to be in 100% control, like Phyllis said, of your situation. When you have ownership over everything, you do not rely on somebody to tell you what you can do, where you can go, how you can live, because you are the boss, right? You need to boss up when it comes to your finances and ownership, just period. It is going to save you a lot of worry. One of my favorite quotes from Nipsey Hussle is like, you are operating in survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you're not thinking about all those things. So in order to come out of survival mode, you have to get in control of your finances, that budget, and those savings. So therefore, when it's time for you to do what you need to do and boss up financially, you can call the shots like Phyllis did in that dealership. That's super important. And then another thing, why ownership, right? So we're going down and we're talking about why ownership. Stability and financial security. I was listening to the mindset, the Mamba mentality mindset with Denisha. She's so awesome with bringing everybody together and just creating such good dialogue. But Trinice Giles, the owner of Grist Cafe, she said that when she wasn't able to find the funding for her business, when she wanted to start her business, she had banks tell her no. She went to go get capital and she wasn't able to do it. Not that she couldn't have, but it created some hurdles where she was running into some challenges. She said she had 5 investment properties that she was able to go into, tap into the equity, pull out liquid cash to start a business. So that was a conversation me and the girls were having in our mastermind, that you really have to empower yourself. You have to get into the position that no one can tell you no, right? That right there is another way to use real estate to be a financial vehicle to fund your dreams, your business, your goals, a family trip, a new car. Like, there are people that have bought homes because they bought the house before the car and was able to take money out and buy their car cash, right? So these are the types of things we're talking about when we say, why is ownership important? Financial security, ownership and stability, and then legacy and generational wealth. And I have to say this, the generation before, so my mom and my dad, and then before them, my grandma and my grandpa, they're leaving land, they're leaving homes, they're leaving assets, things that we can take and honestly create even more generational wealth for generations to come. But we have to be able to take that torch and continue that legacy. Real estate absolutely does that. The average millionaire in America owns 3 properties. Wow. 8 out of 10 millionaires have made their millions and their fortunes through real estate. So my thing is, if you're not on the real estate game, then you're missing out. You don't know how to play the game. You cannot successfully be wealthy without knowing the rules of the game. And real estate is a big part of that, right? So again, when you see me talking about ownership and real estate, that's really what I'm talking about. Not trying to, throw stones at anybody, because like I shared with you, I've been to the point where I've had a 580 credit score, right? And I've seen it go up and go down. But again, it got to the point where I was accountable to my decisions and my actions because I knew what I wanted. Right now, I'm in the process of acquiring an investment property because I can see what having real estate can do. It opens up doors that nobody can shut because it's your property and you own it.
So Ashley, you made a couple of really good points. I see Tiara has something to say. You talked about survival mode, and also you shared the stat about the average millionaire owns at least 3 properties. So many people want to talk about, I want to be a millionaire. Well, property is probably a great place to start. And when we talk about always being in survival mode, we can't plan ahead. Actually, depression and suicide, well, I want to say depression, but suicide rates we see higher amongst the wealthier people. And the reason why is because as we're climbing up that hierarchy of needs, because I'm not in survival mode anymore, because my finances are secure and I have safety, now I'm focused on love and belonging. Now I'm focused on esteem. Now I'm focused on self-actualization and finding real purpose. And when I get to that place that I don't really have a purpose in life, then that's when those suicidal thoughts come in of I'm hopeless, I'm worthless, I don't have a purpose, I'm helpless. So we don't see it as much in the impoverished communities because they're in survival mode. But if we get these basic needs met and we get our safety needs together, then that's the whole masterminding, so that you don't not have purpose now, but you actually achieve self-actualization versus feeling a sense of like loss and unworthiness. And so it's just all ties in. I know you have something to add, Tiara.
No, I was going to say, I loved everything that Ashley said, because one of my questions to her initially, I think, was, what would you say are the beginner steps, or even if there's like a starting line for people that want to get into ownership? I'm sure a lot of the listeners would love to jump on it.
That's a great way to end it. So the basic requirements for ownership, and we're not talking about investing. And I told Phyllis, I'm putting together a course to show you how to hack investing. I'm going to show you how to hack it, because a lot of people think you need 20, 25% down. There is an absolutely golden rule, a golden way to get around that. And I'm going to bring that knowledge to you. But the basic requirements are 580 FICO score, right? A lot of people think you got to have a beautiful credit score to own a home. You don't. You can own a home. There are programs available through FHA, first-time buyer programs, that allow you to own it with a FICO score as minimal as 580. Keep in mind, I didn't say as low. I hate when people say as low. No, as minimal, because the thing about owning a house, and I tell all my clients this, it's not a matter of if you can own a house, it's when, because everybody can own, right? Because credit can be fixed and money can be saved and it can be made. So you absolutely can own. It's never no, it's just not right now. So 580 FICO score. With COVID, there have been some restrictions where they upped that to about 620 and 640. But again, there are programs to work around that. 2 years work history. A lot of people think they have to be 2 years on the same job. No, it just has to be the same field. So if I was a teacher in Maine and I moved to Vegas and now I'm an administrator, I'm in CCSD, it's the same field. So just 2 years of stable work history. And taxes, you have to file your taxes. Me and Phyllis always joke about this, because people are like, I didn't file my taxes. So I send them to Phyllis so they can file their taxes. So they know that, because basically a lot of people wonder why that is. Lenders are wanting to lend you. Okay, so if you're buying a house and it's $300,000, I'm just going to use that as a basic number.
Actually, they're going to have to take your training.
Nisha said, you got to send the invoice.
They're going to have to take your training.
2-year work history, and you have to have filed taxes.
Let the people know how they can contact you and find out, learn from you more and consult with you, seek you for their housing needs at this time. How can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Ashley Q. Tillman, Realtor. Instagram is AQT the Realtor. Over there, I have a link tree where you can book a consultation and access, properties and all that good jazz. You can also call me, 702-469-1203. And I would love to get you on a strategy plan if ownership is a goal of yours.
Wonderful. Phyllis, how can the people contact you?
PKJ Consulting. You find me anywhere, but you can. But you could go to, send me an email, info@pkjconsulting.com, and you can book a free consultation, or go to my website, www.pkjconsulting.com, and schedule a free consultation just to talk about anything. So finances, startup, budgeting, you name it, real estate. I can refer you to Ashley, like pretty much anything. My schedule's open, so I love.
I want to say, somebody put a question in there, and I want to address this really, really quick. So she said, what if you went through a period of unemployment but still in the same field now? A lot of lenders are working with people who are unemployed, so they're furloughed, but they're coming back to work. They're working on trying to average that out so that you are not, put out of the housing market. So, but yeah.
And there actually are quite a few questions there on the Facebook. So those of you who are on the Facebook, make sure you register to join us next week, so you can have contact with these ladies. You can ask your questions in our chat. And if anybody is having questions now that you did not ask, send them to us. We'll try to answer them throughout the week or even on next week's Zoom. I am Danisha Mingo. I have a training. You can go check out the website, www.mhsbehavioralservices.com. I do trainings for paraprofessionals wanting to get into the mental health field. Also, tomorrow is Fancy Friday, where we are dressing up to feel good. Join me, follow me, the business at MHSBS Inc. or Danisha Mingo on all social media handles. Please dress up tomorrow. It's a mental health awareness cause and fundraiser. And I inserted myself because I want the two ladies who will be teaching us how to master the necessities to end us off with their business, how people can reach you, and why people should be excited for next week.
Yes. Go ahead, Tiara.
I'm always waiting now. Like, is it my turn? My name is Tiara Flynn. I am the owner and CEO of Sumnu Marketing. That's something new. Next week, Coach Amber and I are going to talk about mastering the necessities. And now that we know how to master our financial grind, we're going to learn a little bit more about your personal brand or your business brand and why that's so important. Why it's so important to have that solid foundation.
Yes. And so I am Coach Amber J, and I'm super excited to tie in and end mastering everything at the end of this third session. So I'm Coach Amber J, and I help powerful, professional, dynamic women tap into their authenticity. So I'm excited to bring some tools and tips to next week. And you can find me everything Coach Amber J or the Key to Changing Lives on all social medias handles.
We thank all the participants for staying on with us. We know y'all are finding this mastermind very useful. We will have some information for you guys next week on what to expect after this, but most importantly, reach out to all of us individually if you need help in any of the areas. Thank y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we will see y'all next Thursday, same time. We'll have our technology worked out for impact over everything.